Knowledge is power. Make an impact by learning more. Call us right now for more help at 866-945-8070. 8 o'clock. So I'm going to start the recording. I'm going to start the live feed on Facebook, so bear with me 1 second. Probably more than a second, actually, while I get this. Yes, continuous Seth. That's a new one. I don't know who else I would continue as. That would be weird if it asked me, if it allowed me to continue as Gina.
I think you can change your name, and I think that's the question.
I guess. Well, or maybe it was like my page or something. All right.
And turn it to Nerd Enterprises or.
Yeah.
Sarah, my wife asked me, do people really go on these webinars in hoodies? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Cold today.
Yeah, it did drop off. It's quite cool out here.
Is it? Yeah.
All right. I think we're about to get the live Facebook feed actually live. Yeah. All right. We'll mute that. Over into the Between Wall and Main Facebook group. Between Wall and Main Strategy Forum. And one of these days I'll remember to be prepared ahead of time and just have the copy ready to copy and paste. And we're live. And post. Almost there. And we have another attendee to let in. And good morning. Happy Friday. It's April 27th, 2018. We're live with Zoom in Between Wall and Main. Actually, Zoom in with Seth David and Friends. That was an old name, Zoom in Between Wall and Main. And this week we have Maurice Berdugo from Ledgersync. He's going to be showing us an update. A lot of you know the product. The product's been around for quite a while. So we're going to get an update and see what Maurice and Ledgersync are up to these days. But first, a couple of things. Later on today, we are doing an amazing webinar on video marketing for accounting professionals. This is actually advanced video marketing for accounting professionals. So Hector Garcia and I did intro to video marketing for accounting professionals a little while back. And this is kind of the follow-up to that. The people who didn't sign up for the first one, if you sign up for this one, you will get the recordings from the first one and another little mini course I had done on my website around the same subject. So you're going to get a ton of content on how to create video marketing or how to create videos and do video marketing for your accounting practice. So if you want to sign up for that, I'm going to share my screen and I'll show you exactly where to go. It's coming up an hour after this ends. And even if you can't make it, sign up and you'll get all the recordings. But if you go onto my website and go to Buy Now, and then scroll down to where it says Webinars Live. Here on the left, you'll find that. And of course, anytime I have any other live events coming up, same places where you go. There's video marketing. This one just happened on Thursday. I haven't updated it yet. The recording will be up for that one in the next day or two, mastering reports in QuickBooks Online. But later today is video marketing, advanced video marketing for accounting pros. If you sign up for the first one, you got a coupon code, so you're not paying full price for this one. So check your email, make sure you got that, and that's what's happening later today. And as always, check in our Between Wall and Main Strategy Forum Facebook group. I always post the upcoming Zoom In with Seth David and Friends every Friday at 8 o'clock. Maurice, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you.
How are you this morning?
Thank you, Seth. How are you? Doing great. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Excellent. Excellent. Let me just let somebody else into the panel here. So, Maurice, like I said, I know a lot of us are familiar with your product. It's been around for a long time. I remember being at your booth at the Sleater Conference many years ago and learning all about it. So give us the update. Tell us, first of all, tell us a little bit of background about Ledgersync. How long has it been around? When did you create it? Why did you create it?
Sure. So Ledgersync's been around since June of 2014. And the reason why I created it was, first of all, a personal experience with my personal stories is that I was, back in 2013 or so, I was audited by the IRS, and I did my accounting work, and I got audited by the IRS and they asked me for a copy of a check. And I said, oh, no problem. I'll just go to bofa.com because, and it was the first thing that happened in 2011. I'll go to bofa.com and I'll just go grab the check from there and give it to the accountant and we're done. Lo and behold, B of A doesn't hold the information, the check images, for more than a year. And so I was stuck. So I was in the process of chasing Bank of America to get a copy of this $10,000 check, and it wasn't so simple. And finally, I was able to get it and handed it over to the accountant. He forwarded it over to the IRS, and we're done. But I started speaking to other accountants and realized, wow, there's definitely an opportunity here in the sense that others are facing the same problem. As I talk to more and more accountants, getting that check information and statements is a difficulty. And so hence we started Ledgersync.
Gotcha. And so that was obviously some years ago when you started this and when you had that experience. Today things are a little different. So bottom line, tell us where Ledgersync is kind of at today. Tell us what's new. What are some of the recent developments with the product? How has it advanced since it started?
Sure. So the product has evolved in the sense that we've added many more bank credit card accounts to Ledgersync, and we've added more features and more functionality, which I'll show. But the core concentration and the core theme, I believe, is the same, and that we're all about trying to get the financial data as quickly as we possibly can. And provide that to the accountant / bookkeeper / CPA. So, it's all about trying to fetch that data, provide it as quickly as we can, allow for editing, et cetera, and move from there. And we're trying to stay to the core theme of trying to get as much data as we can as quickly as possible.
Gotcha. And all right, so let me just ask the obvious question. Why do I need Ledgersync to do this when I have bank fees and things in QBO?
Yeah. So that's a common question that we're asked, and so there are a number of reasons for using Ledgersync, even if you're using QBO. Number one, with Ledgersync, obviously I mentioned that we're able to get the check images and the deposit slip. So if you use QBO, as you know, the check number will come in and the dollar amount, but you don't see the actual image of the check. So that's part number one. That's the same thing with the deposit slips as well. Number two is you have the statements for reconciliation if you want to confirm, you want to check your numbers. Number three is that Ledgersync will technically go back as far back as the bank will allow us to. So they've got 3 years worth of data. We can go back 3 years and pull all that data. With QuickBooks Online, for the first time, you only get 90 days going forward. So there's a number of reasons as well. In addition, Ledgersync allows you, again, this is for how you want to manage your data, how you want to manage your team, but Ledgersync has a portal in which you can invite your clients to sign in. They'll put in the credentials, and they'll put in the credentials to say Bank of America, Chase, whatever, and then Ledgersync will fetch that data, and you have read-only access. So if you're worried about items, connections breaking in QuickBooks Online, here's another backup, let's call it, in which you can access the data, even if you can't get it through QuickBooks.
Gotcha. So I'm curious, anybody who's here on our live panel, have any of you used Ledgersync or have any experience with it? No? Yes? Silence means no? Okay. So Maurice, you want to share your screen and give us a look at what Ledgersync looks like?
Sure. Okay. Can you see my screen?
I sure can.
Okay, I got this annoying thing here. There we go. So I'm just making the screen smaller here. Okay, so this is Ledgersync, and as you can tell by default, we don't have a lot of function. We don't have a lot of icons and a lot of stuff, and that was built intentionally. We really want to make it simple. Okay, so in order to use Ledgersync, the first step typically begins with the client management, inviting the client. So you click on client management, and you'd be able to simply click add a client, type in their name, email address, and then you can decide whether you want to send them a Ledgersync default email, you want to write a custom email, you want to generate a link, copy it and paste it into your own email, email provider, or don't send an email at all. You typically don't send an invitation if you already have their username and password, like a read-only access. You say, look, I just want Ledgersync to go and fetch the data for me. So that's step one. It's all about connecting the client. Okay. Once you've connected, you've added the client to Ledgersync, they'll appear on the left-hand side. Just give me a second here. They'll appear on the left-hand side. Okay. And the next step would be to either they add a bank account or you add a bank account. And the process is pretty simple. You'd click on add a new bank account, and that would begin the process of going in and fetching the data. So you click on add bank account, type in the name, Bank of America, etc. Click next, give it a name. Click next. And then you'd be prompted with the credentials in which you could then put in their, put in the username and password. If there's a security question, that would come up. If there's a token, that would come up. Whatever the bank requests is the same process that we request, because we're not hacking, God forbid. We're going the proper way, going through the front door and pulling in all that information. Okay. Once that process runs and fetches the data will then show up on the left-hand panel over here, as you can see, and all the multiple banks that they've added will also be here as well. Okay. So let's say I click on, let's say I want to start analyzing or looking at the Bank of America information that they've added. So I click on it, and from here I'll be able to see all the different sub-accounts, credit card accounts, etc. All that information that's pulled from their account.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So I have some clients who would log in and get to this screen, and then so like under their login they may have their personal accounts intermixed with their business accounts. Can they turn that off and on?
Yes. That's a great question. Was it Greg? Sorry, I was asked a question. That's an amazing question. And the reason why I can't show it to you is because that feature is not available. I'm logged in as an administrator, and there is an account visibility icon, which you do not see here. And that's because I'm logged in as the administrator. When the client logs in on their portal, there's like an eyeball icon, and that's called account visibility. And when they uncheck, it'll list all the sub-accounts. So they uncheck it, it will not be visible to you. So the answer to your question is if the client has a bank account, like in my case of a personal and business mixed together, and they want to they want to hide the personal accounts, they go to account visibility on the portal and they uncheck it, and it's not going to be visible to you. Good? Okay. So so here I clicked on the transactions, and I can see all the different transactional data, the date, the account, the sub-account, the check number, description, etc. And I can edit the information. So here's the beauty of Ledgersync. So check 2255, what is that check? Or 2248, what is that check? Click on it, and I can actually see the actual image of the check.
And how long does that stay here in your archive for, Maurice?
At this point, indefinitely.
So, okay, so permanently, basically. So I don't have to worry that 6 months from now I won't be able to see it. And I assume I can download it easily enough if I want to.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, great point. So I can click on here. I can see the check. I can edit the information.
Oh, that's smart. I love that.
I can also edit the payee information, etc. Okay, So I can filter on checks, I can filter description, I can filter to and from, I can do debit greater than or equal to, credit, etc. Once I'm done the editing, I can also export it as an Excel, QuickBooks, OFX, CSV, and IF. We typically see that the QBO file is when that's downloaded. Okay, so that's the first screen. There's another screen that allows for rapid, let's call it data entry of checks. And we've got this screen called Edit Checks. And what it does is that it loads all the different checks within the system. And I could start typing it in. I don't know why the payee isn't here, but I could type in, and hit tab, type whatever I want in, hit tab, and I can edit the information really, really quickly. Just type it in and hit tab. Type it in and hit tab. And that way I could, if I want to focus on the checks, I'm able to edit the checks really, really quickly, all in one page without having to click one at a time. Okay? So that's a second feature. We also give the ability to, again, filter and then export the check images as a copy as a PDF. And that's what I mentioned originally. That was my, reason why I started Ledgersync is because of that one check that made me crazy for a good couple of weeks. So we got that export functionality. Okay. So in addition to the transactions, the checks, deposits, etc., we also pull in the downloadable PDF of the bank statement. So there's a section called statements, and simply you can click on, you can filter what you want, and then filter on the different statements, and just click on view, and that will download the PDF, the Bank of America PDF as it actually appears on the bank website. And now it's in your browser. You can download it if you want to store it or do whatever you want. But the point is that this is the actual copy of the statement. It is the statement, period. Okay. Through Ledgersync as well, we can also offer, if you want to validate a reconciliation, you could simply type in the beginning, take the statement, type in the beginning balance, hit calculate, and it'll show you all the debits and credits, et cetera, so make sure that the numbers all tie up. Okay. So that's, so just as a quick review, we've got the transactional page in which you can see all the transactions, edit the information. We've got an edit checks page where you can see all the checks, deposits, and edit that information. And we also have the statements if you want to do reconciliation. Okay. And that's the core part of the application. Now, in addition, because we understand this is, you're running a business, et cetera, you've got employees. And so we've created a function called employee management. And the way that works is that you can simply add an employee by clicking on this button. And then by clicking on that employee's name, you can then assign which clients that you want them to look at and review. So Andre is going to review only this client and this client. And then when that person leaves, you can either delete that person, or if you want to reassign, you can simply take away that client and assign it to someone else. And you could do the same client to multiple employees. So this is a function in which you can share. There is no additional cost for this. It's available, and many folks use it to distribute the work among their different contractors or employees, etc. Okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
What do you mean by edit checks?
Edit the edit checks page. So the edit checks means that you can edit the check description. So like I mentioned before, with the edit checks, when a check comes in from a bank, it shows you the check number and the dollar amount, not the payee information, not the description. With Ledgersync, the edit checks page is for you to see all the checks, and instead of showing check number 345, you could type in and say, oh, this is Home Depot, this is school, this is Cedars-Sinai Hospital, whatever. You can edit the information prior to importing it into QuickBooks.
But you can't edit the image, right?
No, it's an image. It is what it is. That's the way it comes from the bank. Correct.
Okay.
You can't actually edit a copy of a check. Correct. Okay.
Do you only integrate with banks, or do you do other, like utility companies? And
Yeah, great question. So that's perfect segue for what I was about to show you. So we are connected to 880 different bank and credit card connections and investment accounts, I should add. At this point, we're not connected to utilities, and that's a difficult trade-off that we have in the sense that we're always being pushed hard, I should say, to add more credit card and specifically bank accounts, be it regional or credit unions, all across North America. So we support Canada and the US, and soon the UK. And so, no, we can. It's actually relatively easy because we just go grab the statements, but it's just not been a focus to grab utilities. We're just adding more banks and credit card accounts because that's where a lot of CPAs are pushing us. So to see, go ahead.
We have a question in the chat. The question in terms of is, do you have the ability, I see a Dropbox icon, so I'm guessing that we can configure Ledgersync to push documents into Dropbox?
Correct. That was, about to get. So here's the list. Yep, sorry. I'm not sure if I'm running out of time, so I apologize.
No, you have plenty of time, don't worry.
Thank you so much. So yes, here's a list of banks that we have. You could just simply click on the different letter, and you can see all the different banks. I think C is one of the biggest.
All right, so let's test this. Let's have some fun here. I want to throw some oddball ones out at you that in other services I've had trouble finding or getting a connection. Go to F. I want to see if you have First Republic Bank. Well, you would know this because you're in California like me. These guys are hard. First Republic.
First Republic.
You do?
This one?
Yep, that's the one. I have a lot of local clients here who use that bank, and it's really hard to get. First of all, that bank's online banking sucks. I'll just say it.
I know.
And it makes it difficult, I'm sure. What?
Mm-hmm. They have hooked up to every little hodunk bank that we have around here.
Oh, First Republic, really?
Well, no, I'm in Georgia. So
right, no, I was going to say, you don't have First Republic.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And SunTrust, which is a pretty big bank, somehow they get the images and other services can't. So it's invaluable to me.
Right. You're talking about Ledgersync itself. I thought you were talking about First Republic. But yes, anybody else have some oddball banks?
Ledgersync, if you request, and I had another huge job where I think for $30 or something, they went back years and got me images. I mean, it was just phenomenal.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you, Sarah.
That's awesome. Anybody else have an oddball bank you want to test Maurice with? Come on, somebody's got to have one. Do you have credit unions? Maurice, do you have credit unions on here?
Yes, here's one. Fairwinds Credit Union.
All right, so selfishly, go to B. I want to see if you have Burbank Credit Union.
Burbank, B?
Yeah, there's a Burbank Federal Credit Union. BU.
Let's see.
We need a search here.
No, I don't see it.
Too long to scroll. So, all right.
Can you try Umpqua? Go under U.
Yes,
That's
that
up in
name
Washington,
sounds
yeah.
familiar. Umpqua.
Yeah.
This one?
Oh wow. Okay.
There it is.
I remember that name. It's for some reason it's a bank a name that you don't typically hear. So I remember Umpqua.
But when you do hear it, you don't forget it. Because I had a client who banked them, and I did a major cleanup job with him, so I knew I was never going to forget Umpqua Bank again. So.
Oh, someone's asking for Washington Trust.
All right, check for Washington Trust.
I think
Like a
we
game right now.
just added that Washington. I remember seeing a request for that Washington.
Okay.
No.
So speaking of the
Washington
requests, Maurice, how easy is it to request? I would assume it'd be pretty easy to request, but then how long does the process take you guys to?
Yeah, there's a form. There's a form that's filled out. That's the request a new bank extractor. There is a fee for it, $125. But again, we can always work with you on that. And typically, we try to get done within 2 weeks or less. So, and the process is that we need the credentials because we obviously need to code it. But once we have that, once we assign to the developer, quite honestly, it takes us about 2 days to get done, if not
That's
sooner.
interesting. So you have a real process around people being able to request a connection with a bank you don't already have, and you can actually get it done and turn around. Because other services that I've used that do things like this, not necessarily exactly this, they'll just tell you, yeah, we're working on it. It's on our list of banks to add or whatever. And then it's like, it's only if enough people are asking for it that you actually get it.
No.
But I love that.
We
Yeah. I love that. I would not mind paying a fee, especially when I know it's a very off-the-wall, unique kind of little podunk bank, that for a fee I can get you guys to just make it happen, which is awesome.
Yes, appreciate it. Yep. And we've got and it's a very popular feature, I should say. I mean, I think we've got a backlist of 10 to 15 at any given point. So, and like you said, they're really oddball, oddball bank that we hear. Like, remember this one, like Wauchula State Bank. Never heard of them, but so.
Right.
So once we pay you the $125, then it goes into
the queue, and
anybody can use it.
Yes. Once it's made available, everybody can use it. Correct.
So we should just pool our money together.
Well, you have to find another person who needs that same bank, get them to sign up for Ledgersync, and make them pay for it.
Moving on to what Seth was asking about in terms of the storage. So there's a feature called cloud storage, and here you're able to add Dropbox, share file, and smart file.
No Google Drive.
And the process, not yet. I know you asked for that, Seth. That's on our to-do list.
Perfect.
I know you.
I'll pay you $125 for it.
Just the other day, I was talking to a Microsoft shop, and they wanted connected to SharePoint. So
Of course they did.
Yeah.
But I don't know any accountants who use SharePoint.
I don't know any. Yeah. But well, there's so many.
No, of course there are.
So basically the way it works is you simply add your Dropbox account information or your share file or your smart file, and on a nightly basis, it will push the information into smart file, for example, and it will be organized by client, by bank, by sub-account. Sub-account, I mean like a checking account, a savings account, a credit card account, etc. And then you can expand that to see checks, statements, and transactions. So all three of those, and it's updated on a nightly basis.
That's awesome. What does the transactions look like? Is that just a CSV file, or?
It's an Excel file with literally all the transactions that you see over here in the transactions page that I showed you before. Mm-hmm. And then just basically all the data that's available.
I know this is probably pushing it, but by any chance, does that Excel file contain links to the check images that I could view online?
No, not yet. No.
Right.
No.
Okay, no, but this is awesome that I can get that. And the statements conform to the actual statement cutoff, not just assuming it's a calendar month, because again, other services automatically do a calendar month no matter what the statement cutoff is. So this is the actual statement?
This is the actual statement as it appears on the bank website. Correct.
Okay. All right, good.
So that's it in a nutshell. We've got some other features that we're adding that we haven't released yet, but we are planning to release pretty soon. Is I know that grabbing tokens and security questions is often a difficult and tedious task. And, First Republic Bank is one that I know doesn't make it so easy. Capital One is another one that makes it really hard. There are a few banks that just make it really, really difficult. And so a feature that we're adding is you can add your client's phone number to Ledgersync. This will be released soon. You can add your client's phone number, their mobile phone, and a text message will be sent to their phone from the bank saying, okay, the bank is asking for a security question or a security token. you're going to receive it from Chase Bank. Please copy and paste the token numbers into this text and send it back. And so Ledgersync is the one, Ledgersync will then take that text message that was sent and forward over to the bank. So the point is that you don't have to ask your client, please log into Ledgersync and answer the security question, or please log into Ledgersync and enter the token. It can all be done through the phone. So that's one important feature. That's really cool. You don't have to, I know Seth, you use Slack, etc. No need for that anymore. They could just go in, they'll receive a text, respond to the text, and you're done.
So the client's getting a text from Ledgersync, letting them know that they're going to get another text from the bank to get the code to put it into Ledgersync? Or
Exactly. The bank will always send a token to the owner of the account, and that's the way it should be. They're the owner
of course,
of the account.
but then you put the client on notice, hey, we need you to give us that code because that's why you're getting the request from the bank.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly what I now have to do in Slack. So like you said, this eliminates that need. And that's assuming the client is available to get it, which again, it's just as, it's the same thing. It doesn't, having Slack doesn't make that any better. If they're not there, they're not there. But at least this way we have a better shot at getting that stuff timely so we don't have to wait until the client's around to get it for sure. So that's
correct. And the banks typically have like a few minute cutoff time before they shut down the connection, or they have to reissue another connection. Yeah. So, most people are connected to their phone. So, that's the premise.
Is it easy to do that from their mobile, where they get a link they can tap from their mobile to enter the code?
Yes, it's just a text message, a regular text message.
No, but they have to log into Ledgersync to enter the code, don't they?
No.
Oh, they reply to the text message with it?
Exactly. They reply to the text message with the token, and Ledgersync will then receive that token, forward over to the bank. The bank says, yes, acknowledge that's the right code, and the process continues.
That is awesome. That's amazing. So I didn't catch. I didn't realize that. So all they do is reply to the text message. So they get two texts, one from Ledgersync, one from the bank. They copy and paste the one from the bank into the text message from Ledgersync, hit reply, and it's done. That's awesome.
Correct. That's it. That's
okay.
Great. That's exactly it. Other features as well in which you can, and this is a feature that I've heard about a lot as well. I should actually just jump to the transactions page. Is the ability to, a second. So currently here you can edit the date, but we're changing the database so that you can edit the dates. From understand for the checks, that's important as well. In addition, as well, what I forgot to share with the cloud storage, well, it's not really cloud storage, but in the sense that you can forward, we're creating a forward email address. So every check or deposit that comes in, or every statement, can be automatically forwarded over to a designated email address. So for example, we're close with auto entry, et cetera, so you can forward that information into auto entry, or others use Receipt Bank. You can forward over the information over to those guys as well. So on a nightly basis, all that information will be forwarded over to them so that they can OCR that information if you'd like.
That kind of dovetails into another question that I have that you haven't touched on. I don't see any integration direct with QuickBooks Online or Xero or anything.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a great question. We are in the process of developing that right now.
But you mentioned auto entry.
Yes,
right?
Correct.
Because I saw a video of that yesterday, and I just signed up for a trial. That looks amazing. So maybe that's the in between of you can get all these canceled checks, but auto entry is reading the vendor list and creating that interface to QuickBooks.
Correct. And we're working with both. They're things I can't discuss because I'm not at liberty to discuss what Auto's plans are. But there's more and more integrations. We're in discussions with their team alone. Hopefully there'll be more integrations.
Right, because it's difficult to find anything for the ones of us who are still in the desktop world. And auto entry works with desktop, so that's why that just
Correct. And Ledgersync as well. Correct. And we have a good number of desktop users. And like I said before, you can use Ledgersync to get the transactions. You can export it as a QBO file and import it into desktop. But yes, we are a number of discussions with auto entry on a number of fronts.
Very cool. All right. So I just want to address one thing, Maurice. We discussed Ledgersync in our Between Wall and Main group a little while back, and I wanted to talk about something because a few people made comments that they felt that Ledgersync was a little slow. So I wanted to have you address that for people. What have you done about it, and what was the story with all that?
Yeah. So in terms of the speed of Ledgersync, number one, we are in the process of making it faster. It's a bigger job than it sounds like. Oh, just make it faster. It requires rewriting certain parts of the code. So we are in the process of doing that. It's actively being worked on by our top developer. Number one. Number two, compared to others in the industry, our process is a little different. Okay. We are not fetching purely statements. If we were fetching purely statements, the process would be just go to a one-page, download instantaneously the transactions and the statements, and you're done. It's a lot harder what we do in the sense that we're actually going to the bank transactional page and downloading all the transactions as it appears on the bank website. Mm-hmm. Number one. Number two is that we're accessing the checks. And if you can just picture yourself going through the process of going to a bank website, you're clicking on the check, and many times there's multiple layers of click, and then look at the front, back, and then click, back, etc. That's the process that we're mimicking systematically. And so it's not just downloading a statement, we're actually connecting to the bank website, pulling check by check by check. So it's not as fast. Number three is, we don't want to, how should I say it? We're very conscious of what we're doing, and we're very conscious of the bank. We don't want to overflood, the bank with a ton of requests. So we try to be careful, try to be very respectful of the bank in terms of how we access the information, when we pull it, how we pull it. So there are a number of things that we're doing to try to speed it up, but we're not just accessing statements, we're accessing a lot more data. And a lot of times we're limited to the speed of the bank website. Small credit unions, they're slow. Some cases they're just slow, and we're kind of limited to the speed. Right. But I should add one more thing to that, is that there is a job that we have in which you could turn on, and it will fetch the data on a nightly basis. So when you wake up in the morning, last night's data, which most banks update at night anyway, will be updated for you.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. So that's what I asked Maurice, because the explanation makes perfect sense. It's not like you said, you're not pulling down superficial levels of data. You're going deep and pulling the check images, like you said, all the details. To
the nitty gritty, to the most detailed line item within the within the bank website. So yeah.
They're even remotely fetching the person who initiated the transaction and bringing them through the computer into your office. No, I'm kidding. All right, good. So Google Drive is on the roadmap. I love that we can request and even pay for it so that it gets expedited, a new financial institution that we don't have. And so your feeling, Maurice, is that it doesn't matter who the bank is, as long as we give you the credentials, your developers can configure the financial institution. Have you ever run into one that you were not able to connect?
No, so far, no. So we've got 880. I mean, we pretty much got it down to a science at this point. And like I mentioned, in the U.S. and Canada, and we even can do French websites. So.
Okay.
Along those lines.
Now, so real quick, and I want to point this out because we asked the question about like a QuickBooks integration or QuickBooks Online integration. from what we've seen this morning, it seems to me that we could very easily, while we're waiting, dump this into a CSV file and use an import tool. You wouldn't want to use QBO's bank feeds because, as Maurice pointed out, the level of information is very limited that you can import directly through the QBO bank feeds process. But using an import tool, like I just did a video on SASANT Excel transactions, I could take a CSV from here and import every single detail of it, fully mapped, check number, description, everything, right in, coded exactly where it needs to go.
Exactly it.
And that process is probably going to be a lot faster even than using the bank feed itself. Sorry, Greg, what were you going to ask?
I was going to ask, you said that 880 banks you built the connection for. Do all 880 of those give you check images? Because I have some banks that I use through HubDoc that don't give check images to HubDoc at least. And I wonder, do you go deeper and pull directly?
Oh, so the answer to the question, that's a great question, Greg. So the answer to the question is, it depends. And I'll answer it very carefully. It depends. We are going to the bank as the source of the information. If the bank makes the checks available, then yes, because we are not, and this is why it takes longer, is we're not OCRing. We're not trying to take the check image off a bank statement. And if the bank statement doesn't have a check, we're stuck. We're actually going to the nitty gritty line item level and grabbing the check. Now, if the bank, for whatever reason, doesn't display the check, then yes, we're stuck. Or, and I've seen this with TD a lot for some reason, if the bank charges and says, okay, in order to access your online checks, you're going to have to pay a fee of $5, et cetera, and the client declines to pay that fee, obviously we're blocked because the bank is saying, sorry, you can't access checks because there's an additional fee and the client's not willing to pay. So, but barring those two, if the check is available on the bank website and you can log in and regularly look at it, yes, we would put it in. And that's like 90%, 95%, if not higher, of the banks that we access.
Yeah, SunTrust is one of those that you don't have any problem getting images.
Right. SunTrust is a popular bank. I see that a lot.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
anyone else have any questions?
I like, I really, what I'm really stoked about is the new feature with the SMS, because I could just imagine how much time that's going to save of, the client, the account, the account tells their client, hey, if you receive a text message from Ledgersync, know that it's me, because we only send the text if it's initiated by the accountant. So if the account initiated a bank refresh and the bank asks for a token, client gets on their mobile and they receive a note from Ledgersync, receive the token from the bank, copy paste the answer into that text message, send it back, and boom, we're done. So hopefully that will speed up the process even further of trying to get that information.
Yeah, no, that's huge. I was actually just talking to a developer last week about this very issue and explaining, like I'd explained to you, Maurice, when we had met, the way I deal with it in Slack, which works okay, but it sounds like this is sort of a step up from that, where it can substantially, as much as could be, it's automated the process. Because the developer I was talking to was saying it's really next to impossible to automate that process completely, because you would have to have a way for the software to be able to grab the text message that's being sent to the client's phone, which means you would have to somehow integrate into the cellular service that client is using. That'd be the only way to get the data. And for all kinds of security reasons, there's no way that companies would ever let that happen, the text. So in other words, it's never going to happen where a product is going to be able to automatically grab those, multi-factor authentication codes and code them in for you. That's just security, and I don't think we would want it any other way in reality, to make sure that people's information, especially banking information, is well protected. You'd always want them to have to intervene. But this is great. So if I'm the accountant, earlier I thought it was just done, but it's only done if I'm the accountant there in Ledgersync trying to fix it. Then I trigger the message to go to the client so that
Correct.
to put the code in. Do I get notified the minute the client has responded, just confirming, hey, we got the code? Or how does that,
Yes.
how do you know when it's done?
Oh, so it will continue the process. It won't fail. The process will automatically kick off and say successfully started. You will get notification.
Okay. Perfect. So I don't sit there waiting, wondering whether or not the client was actually there to do it.
Nope.
And I love the overnight thing. Yeah. I mean, this is awesome. So let's talk about pricing. I know people are wondering. Let's talk about pricing. And whoever's watching, hang on, because I have a coupon code to give you before you run off and sign up for Ledgersync.
So it's the lowest we charge by, and thanks for bringing that up. I should mention pricing. So we charge not based off client, but based off usage. So for $46 gives you 10 linked accounts, meaning that, and a linked account is, a connection to a bank, not the number of sub-accounts, but a connection to a bank. So for example, Amex is one, Bank of America is another, Wells Fargo is a third.
So even if they have 7 Wells Fargo accounts, it only counts.
It's still considered one. Correct.
It's one connection call. The accounts are linked through that one connection.
Exactly. We don't care how many sub-accounts are in one bank feed connection. We charge by the actual connection and fetching the data. So, and then 46 is the lowest. And then, so again, among that 10, you can distribute it among as many clients as you want. If you have 10 clients, they each have one bank account, then boom, you've got 10 clients. If you've got two clients with 5 each, then that'd be 2. And then next step up is the gold plan. And I believe that's 75 for 25, et cetera. And that's all on our website. And
where's the page on your website? Do you mind just going there just so people know?
Sure.
Is it just ledgersync.com?
I also
pricing.
I've been looking at the pricing here, but I don't see any like direct to consumer. Is your program only or primarily set up for accountants and bookkeepers?
That's a great question. So correct. We don't deal with I should say don't. Any small business, and we do have small businesses that use Ledgersync, but we tend to work with the accountant/bookkeeper. So the billing is with the accountant bookkeeper because the product is built around, I'm an accountant, I'm a bookkeeper, I've got multiple clients, and I want to distribute this among multiple clients. Now, if you have a small business, if you have a client that wants to use Ledgersync, we can reverse it in the sense that they sign up, and then they can make you, they can add you to Ledgersync as an employee, for example, and then you can access their data. We can reverse the roles essentially, but it was built with the accountant in mind. Being I'm the accountant, and then I've got multiple clients.
That makes sense. You don't want clients messing around with this stuff. They'll make a mess of it.
So here's the pricing. So it's 46, 95, et cetera. 95 gets you 25 accounts. 25 linked bank fee connections, et cetera.
And because you're a friend of Seth David's, you can get 10% off the pricing. Use the coupon code NERDENT. That's NERDENT. NERDENT. That will get you 10% off the prices.
All caps.
All caps. Doesn't matter. These things are not case sensitive. But Maurice gave it to me in all caps. So if it doesn't work without all caps, do all caps.
Yeah.
Right. So that'll get.
So Seth had mentioned something about we don't want our clients going in there and screwing up things, and that's very valid. But clearly we need the clients to be going into Ledgersync to keep the bank account logins fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have the ability, or do we have the ability to lock them out of the actual data, or can they go in and tweak and jerk around with the work that we've done?
That's a good question. At this point, they can technically edit the information, but yeah, I'm going to take that up with our team. to see if we can create a lock in that they can't edit the information. They can only add bank or edit bank accounts. That's something
Like
that,
a view only feature.
yeah, view only. Some folks want, we've had accounts that say we do
I
want
want a memo. I want to let them do the.
exactly.
Actually,
Honestly,
this brings up an important question that I want to ask, because I know with a lot of these other products, they're configured, and I get the impression this is the same way, Maurice, where when I go to add a client, the client will get an invite and they have to link up their bank accounts, right? Because you said they get a little icon that we don't get where they decide which accounts we get to see, right? So here's a dumb question, because a lot of times I cheat on these services because I really don't want the clients touching it at all. So what I will often do, and I'll just explain my process because I think it's good for other accountants to hear this anyway, is, I live in the world of G Suite where we have groups, and I will create an account called clientname@nerdenterprises.com. I would be inclined to go in first as the accountant and configure it, invite the client, but use my email for them, clientname@nerdenterprises.com. Then in another browser session, I'll go retrieve the welcome email and sign in myself, so I'll pretend like I'm the client, right? But they're usually giving me read-only access logins that I'm configuring from on that end. So is that going to fail? Do I need full rights when I give Ledgersync the credentials to link the accounts?
no, not at all. Not at all.
Good.
That's
the read-only will do the trick, so my process will work.
Yes, in fact, even better. You're going to save a step, Seth, because you'll add their name, add their email address, or you could technically put in a dummy email address.
That'll be my alias. No, like I said, I'll use client name at Nerd Enterprises for the client email.
Yeah. And then you click on do not send invitation email.
But then how do I get that view where I decide what I can see and what I can't see?
No. So once you click on do not send invitation email, once you click on any of these options, automatically the client will be added here to the left. Click on the client, add their information. You have the read only, select the client.
So if I put in their logins, then I'll see all the accounts, won't matter, and I'll just use the ones that I need. I'll leave the
That's right. Exactly. You click on do not send invitation email, and they won't get an invitation. And you'll just automatically, that name will appear here on the left. Click on the add bank account and add it in. You're done. You don't have to do that.
Yeah,
you have to
because the way I work and the way I teach other accountants and bookkeepers to work is to force the client to empower you to do anything you need to do without their intervention needed. Because a client just slows me down, and they really do. Like, I don't want them to get in my way. It sounds funny, but they actually get in the way of me doing what they hired me to do for them. So I don't want to have to rely on the client for anything. That's kind of my golden rule.
Yep.
If we go that route though, then won't the client then become disconnected from that, like, SMS service and log in and verify your account? The two.
Yeah, that's the trade-off. That's a great point. But that's not relevant, Greg, because if you have their login credentials, read-only login credentials, then there's no point of sending an SMS because you have the login credentials already.
Right. And actually, in those cases, if they've configured my read-only credentials, then usually if it's a bank that has an MFA feature, it will give them the ability to use my own cell phone or email address for where to send the code. So that's always going to be the best way to go, is to get the client to give you a read-only access to their bank account so that then you do have total control. So even if the client changes their own password, that's not going to screw you up.
Exactly.
Always
now, there are some banks that don't have that feature. So yes, and then
right. And so in that case, I would either opt to let the client, go in there and set up what they need to set up and just take my chances that way. Or, if I really, what I would be willing to do is test it out with the client. But the first sign that the client's screwing things up, I would redo it and then just go back to my Slack method for getting the MFA if needed. So just, like I said, client in the mix if I can avoid it.
Absolutely. Yep, and that's a lot of, and that is the preferred method of getting read-only access. That really will save you a lot of time, and we hear it, from for example, one of our trusted partners, Parkway Business Solutions. That's the way they work. Getting all the client credentials read-only access, and we talk to so many accounts. There are accounts that will not touch a client unless they have read-only access. If not, they just don't want to deal with the client.
Right.
So that is the way to go.
Yep, my requirement is that the clients give me logins for everything that I would ever need to log into, for any bill that needs to get paid or pretty much anything. So that's how we work, and we have a system by which we keep track of all that. So again, the idea is not to have the client intervene. So Maurice, you mentioned a partner. So do you have an accounting partner kind of program?
What do you mean, Seth? Sorry.
You referred to a company as one of your quote trusted partners. Do you have like a partner program for accountants where they can get credit for referring people to you, or no?
We don't have like we don't have a referral program per se, but I mean, again, if someone does want to, if a CPA does refer us, then we'll definitely discount and give benefits.
Gotcha. Okay.
Away from Matt, they're like a technical liaison, so they help us out a lot, and I just know their processes really well, so I mentioned them. But yeah, if there are referrals, we will certainly work on giving away Ledgersync for free.
Gotcha. Perfect. All right, free Ledgersync for everyone. Kidding. All right, so Kelly on the Facebook Live feed asked, what's the pricing? I assume we've got that question sufficiently answered now. And so I think that is all. Anybody else have any other questions, comments, ideas, thoughts, feedback? All right, then. So Maurice, if you want, you can stop sharing your screen. So everybody just go to ledgersync.com, and remember the magic coupon code for 10% off is NERDENT, NERDENT, and that'll get you 10% off. And that's about it. So, of course, when I get the recording posted on my website, which hopefully will be within the next 24 hours, I will also put the coupon code up there so you don't have to remember it in case you forgot it or didn't write it down. Don't forget, in about an hour from now, we're doing advanced video marketing for accounting pros. So if you didn't already, go sign up for that. Maurice, I want to thank you so much for spending time with us.
My pleasure.
It was a pleasure meeting you in person. It was even more of a pleasure getting a deep dive on your product. I think it's great. I think every accountant really needs to look into having something like this, because when we first sat down, I was honest and I said, I don't understand why I would need it when I have bank fees. Now I understand very thoroughly why this can be huge, especially when I'm dealing with big e-commerce clients where I have lots of transactions. I'm already in my mind, I've got ideas going about how I'm going to set up Ledgersync for every client, get the CSVs and import stuff. I'm becoming more and more a fan of just doing imports of transactions because it's just more efficient than even coding it through the bank feeds. I can prep an Excel file in a fraction of the time for even a week's worth of transactions and then upload that so much faster than I can do in the bank feeds, even with rules, even with, all the stuff. I'm becoming more and more a fan especially if you're dealing with a lot of volume. Import, definitely the way to go. Forget about bank.
You can't beat Excel. Excel is the king of everything. You can't beat Excel.
So easy to sort things by name, and then I can copy and paste the account names down. It's just, I do it all the time on cleanup jobs, and I'm finding that taking that process into the day-to-day maintenance of an accounting project is starting to make more and more sense. There's a post on firmofthefuture.com this week. They rolled out a little bit better platform for how to integrate PayPal transactions through the bank feeds. It's still not going to be faster than my import. I don't even have to try it to know. That my import process using this product that I recently discovered, SAS and Excel transactions. So that's going to be my first video, Maurice, with Ledgersync, because I'm going to go through the process of taking a bank feed from Ledgersync, dumping it into a CSV, and importing the transactions into QuickBooks Online, just to show how quickly you can get it done.
Nice. Amazing.
And again, it's always going to be faster than bank feeds. So I'm actually excited about that.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for being with us. Everybody else, thank you for being with us this week. And every week, Friday mornings, 8 a.m. Pacific. Gina, what's going on later today? What you see is what you get. We've changed the time. I keep forgetting 2 o'clock Pacific, 5 o'clock Eastern, right? SBAA
Yes.
on Facebook, Small Business Accounting Advisors on Facebook. Gina always has a lively conversation every Friday afternoon.
We have a good time.
That's what counts.
Maybe Maurice will come on your show next and show your crew.
Absolutely. We'd love to have you, Maurice.
Thank you, Gina. Appreciate it.
All right. Very good. So I will see you all hopefully in an hour from now on the webinar. If not, we'll see you in Gina's Hangout. If not, we'll see you around the web somewhere along the way. If nothing else, at Between Wall and Main Strategy Forum on Facebook.
All right.
Have a nice
Bye,
weekend.
everyone.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.